Imagine the biggest thing you can possibly imagine. The universe, all time. And what is our place in the universe, in all time, and this planet? You are immediately pulled into the field of paleontology. Paleontology asks and attempts to answer some of the largest questions that human beings have ever asked. PRI was founded by a Cornell professor in 1932. He had been a professor at Cornell from 1895 until his retirement. And approaching retirement, he was concerned that his printing enterprise and research, and especially his collections, would be cared for by the university. Basically, he didn't trust the university to take care of those things. PRI's collection is clearly one of the top 10 in the United States, maybe even the top 5. Our collection has, we use the number 7 million objects, but we don't really know how big it is, but we do know that it's larger than Yale's or larger than Harvard's. It's even larger than the invertebrate collection at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. We have long been, for the last 30 years, an adopter of orphan collections. And that's how the collection has grown. We've adopted more than 20 institutional collections and many collections from private individuals. And the sad fact about paleontology in the United States is that there is a decreasing number of institutions that want to have collections. And that's one of the great ironies of our present situation, is that PRI itself may become perhaps the largest orphan in American history if we can't figure out how to get out of the situation. PRI benefited from an incredibly generous donor for more than 20 years, who gave us more than $20 million, starting about 2000, actually helping to build the Museum of the Earth. And we could not have grown to the size that we grew without the support of that individual donor. But starting in 2022 into 2023, it became clear that that donor was having liquidity problems. The pledges were across the institution, from capital projects to staff salaries to operating, and most importantly, to our mortgage. So this building that we're standing in cost about $11 million to build. We borrowed $3 million through a mortgage to help pay for it, and we still owe about basically $3 million on that mortgage. The donor had been covering the debt service on that mortgage for the last 15 years. And right now, the mortgage is the most pressing financial problem. But the donor also was supporting programs and things across the institution. So we have downsized our staff from more than 30 staff. Now we're a staff of 13. People ask what they can do. How can people help PRI right now? I don't have $30 million. How can I help you? Every dollar that people are giving us right now keeps us open longer.
I think students and faculty can support PRI by vocally telling people how important this resource is. I depend on PRI for two different things. First, I really emphasize PRI in my teaching and training in order to get students to spend some time there. I encourage them to go. I show specimens that are in the museum in my lectures. And I take groups there occasionally, and it's mostly just for the general education about earth history and vertebrate zoology. But I also rely on PRI as a research institution. I mentioned that I donated a number of fossil fishes to the PRI permanent collection. I've also donated teaching materials. And what I like about PRI is the idea that we'll have these materials available for others to appreciate and work with over time.
We have an incredibly strong relationship with the university, which I've described some of through serving undergraduates in a variety of ways. What you're seeing in this room is part of our education collection. So we have a huge education collection which we use for education and exhibits and so forth. And it is, this would be, if you took my paleobiology class at Cornell, you would use this collection for your class labs. We became a center for undergraduate research. So I've personally supervised 15 undergraduate student theses at Cornell. Other staff here have supervised undergraduate research.
The more I continued doing this project, the more I realized how much I was thinking about it in my daily life. It'd be 1 in the morning and I'd wake up and think of something and to write it down. I'd be talking about trilobites all the time with my entomology friends, and they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" And so that made me realize that this is more than just a hobby. This is a passion, and I really enjoy the work I've been doing. And now I'm applying to paleobiology programs across the country for trilobites, and none of this would not have happened without PRI's influence and the opportunities and the tools that they gave me to pursue my own research. And then graduate students. So PRI staff have supervised a total of 15 Cornell PhDs. 2 are still PhD students with us right now. So we have basically been non-botanical paleontology for the university for the last 30 years.
I'm studying deformations in fossils, so basically fossils that have been squished for millions of years under the weight of rock. And the challenge with this is it hasn't really been studied in vertebrate paleontology as much as invertebrate paleontology. So what happens is you get all these squished skulls and just basic questions in paleontology, like what did the animal look like? How many species are there? Were the 2 different sexes sexually dimorphic? Questions like that we can't really answer when we have these super crushed skulls. So I'm trying to see at what extent can we actually deform these things, and when do we lose these kind of important biological signals. And then later down the line, I'm hoping to see if I can undeform these fossils, so unsquish them and see if we can get back to their original shape. My involvement with PRI started during my sophomore year, so I took Professor Warren Allman's paleobiology course, which first of all got me down to the museum once a week to do basically weekly lab exercises where we'd walk around the museum, find specimens about the groups of organisms we were learning about each week. Spending time there got me really invested in the museum, and I wanted to do more of it. And as part of the class, I did a research project where I studied these fossil fish from Syracuse. They're called dagger-tooth fishes, so they have S-shaped teeth, so they have these double curved teeth. The results of that project kind of culminated in my first ever conference presentation, so I got to go to a scientific conference. Just doing research in the museum independently kind of really got me excited about getting into research and pursuing a career in academia, so I reached out to Dr. Hedrick about joining his lab, and I've been there since. So I worked in his lab for 2 years as an undergraduate, and now I'm continuing on as a graduate student.
So we serve kind of concentric circles. We serve the Ithaca community, which is K-12 teachers, families, and then students, and then college-level students, particularly at Cornell and IC, and then outward from there, teachers across New York State. New York is one of the best places, maybe the best place in the whole world to study fossils and rocks from the Devonian period. In fact, we're standing in the Devonian World exhibit here at the museum. And then beyond that, online and with products for teachers across the country. And so we today are a major player in climate change education, which itself is now a thing.
We turn to the fossil record to understand the impact of big climatic changes. And as a result, we understand some things about the direction that the global climate is headed right now. That's one of the most important things, and I try to emphasize to my students that perhaps the most important graph I'm ever going to talk to them about is a graph of temperature change, CO2, O2, glaciation, etc. over the last 542 million years.
We're facing the 6th mass extinction today, so by looking into the past and by studying the fossils and seeing how animals have responded to these environmental stressors is a great way to understand what's going to happen in the future. You may be just a local who's been to the museum a few times, and you may have just enjoyed going. But I think the impact has been far-reaching. People all over the world value this institution for what they do. and I think it'd be a real shame to lose this valuable resource.